Welcome back to the Homestretch podcast. Today's episode is all about conveyancers and what they actually do. So, if you've ever wondered what your solicitor is doing in the background when you think you're just sat there in silence, then you're going to want to watch this episode. Conveyancing is one of the most confusing part of the process, I would say, and it's the main part. They're the ones that are doing all of this work for you to be able to get your house. You need a conveyancer to buy a property. But I feel like understanding a bit more about what conveyancers do, what their role is, how they help you get your house will hopefully help you feel a bit more confident and a little less stressed about the situation, because when you go into the process of dealing with a lot of legal matters, definitely choosing the right conveyancer for you is so important. You need to be able to get along with your conveyancer and not feel like you're just not getting along with them at the moment, because you're going to be spending a lot of time with them across these next couple months that they're going to be helping you buy your dream home. So you need to have a good working relationship with them, because you're going to be in communication with them a lot. If you both can't communicate with each other, there's going to be a bit of an issue and there's going to be tension. And that is definitely not what you need, considering the house buying process can give you a lot of tension anyways. So without further ado, let's dive straight into today's episode, all about conveyancers. So to start off, what even is conveyancing? What is that word? Why do people use it? What even is it? So the definition in plain English: conveyancing is the legal transfer of property ownership from seller to buyer. So you absolutely need a conveyancer to be able to buy or sell a home. So why do you even need a solicitor or a licensed conveyancer? They handle all the legal documents and paperwork. They obviously have degrees that allows them to do this. They handle contracts, they handle funds, they do all the legal checks for you. And all in all, they just protect you from buying a property that is not going to be good for you and something that a lender is not going to want to put a mortgage down on. They basically want to help you not buy a house that's got loads of hidden things wrong with it, basically. And just a caveat that when your solicitor is silent and they haven't replied to you in like a couple weeks or like a week or so, don't think that things aren't getting done in the background, because sometimes solicitors are just waiting on things that they're waiting for. They can't hurry things along as much as they would like to, because they obviously want you to get the keys as quickly as you want to get the keys, right? Their end goal here is to see you in the house of your dreams and the house that you're putting all this time, energy, effort, money into. Things do take time, and they are obviously busy with other clients, because it's not just you that they're going to be working with here. But the thing is, they might be waiting on documents, they might be waiting on solicitors, they might be waiting on the council. There are so many factors and moving things when it comes to conveyancers and solicitors within the house buying process. The best tip and advice I can give you is come to a common ground where you can talk to them and communicate with them, let's say one phone call a week on a Friday, just to see what the updates are, or just having that great line of communication where if you do call them or do email them, they're not going to be annoyed at you. At the end of the day, you are just wanting to purchase your first home right now. So they're going to know that, and they're not going to want to delay anything on purpose. So they are doing the best they can. Give solicitors a break, because I do feel like they get a bad rep, and because they're the people that we speak to throughout the whole process, I feel like they're the ones that we go to if there's delays or if we're getting frustrated. We kind of put the blame on solicitors and blame them, when really it might be other solicitors in the process, or it might be sellers that are being difficult and not passing information to their solicitor, which then passes it to your solicitor. Or it could be the council that are just taking weeks and weeks and they're not getting back to them, and there's just delays in that sense. So don't put the blame on your solicitor. Just kind of look at the whole situation as a whole. So I'm obviously not a solicitor. I'm just going by the personal experience that we went through in terms of what our solicitor did for us throughout the house buying process, and probably what your solicitor would do for you. Just talk to a solicitor if you're unsure about anything. They're there for you to ask questions and for you to get advice from. I am not a solicitor. I do not have a degree in anything to do with like buying or selling properties, I have absolutely no idea. I am just talking through my personal experience. So hopefully you can learn a little bit about what I've gone through and just being more aware about the house buying process in general. I feel like it's such an interesting area because you don't learn about it until you go through it. They don't teach you it in school. You just hear about your friends moving into a house. They don't go into the details of what the house buying process is like. And when you're younger and you move houses, you only just see the stress of packing things up and moving, not all the legal stuff or the paperwork or the delays or the stress that goes on behind the scenes. And being a first time buyer, you now get to understand that stress and behind the scenes stuff that is going on. Yeah, that's kind of why I'm doing these episodes, because I feel like if I was going through the process, I would have loved to have understood things a bit more, especially from someone who's gone through the process already and is kind of going by their personal experience. Obviously, every experience is going to be different. You might get some solicitors that are really communicative and some that are just not, and maybe some that are quite rude and some that ignore you, and that's not nice and not fair at all. So hopefully I can give you some tips on how to kind of go about that, because we have dealt with that in our situation too. So let's dive straight into the step-by-step processes of what solicitors do within your house buying process. So number one is that they're going to be kind of uploading and setting up your information. So like your ID, proof of funds is an important one as well. They want to make sure that you have the deposit ready, and you have to do this very early on in the process. It's not something that you do when you complete. You have to prove that you have the deposit literally when your house offer gets approved. At the start, all of their like things that they're doing is making sure that your income is what you say it is and everything is like hunky-dory, you're ready to go. So yeah, paperwork is the number one thing that they're going to be doing. Number two is they will be revising the contract pack, also known as the draft pack or the draft contract pack. This, I did do a whole episode on this because we had so many issues, and I won't go into the details today because if you'd listened to my previous episodes, I don't want to bore you with the details all over again. But we had loads of issues and delays with our contract pack. The seller's solicitor didn't give it to our solicitor for like 5 weeks. And yeah, it was 5 weeks of delays that we just didn't really fancy having. Anyways, what a contract pack is lots of forms and information from the sellers that are selling the property and about the property itself that the seller's solicitor will then be given to your solicitor. This includes things like the fixtures list, so things that, you know, the sellers are leaving for you, whether that's blinds or whether that's a fridge and things like that. Title documents will also be in the contract pack as well. The draft contract of you purchasing the property and the property information form. So there's going to be loads of different documents in this contract pack. It should only really take a few weeks to get from the solicitor to your solicitor. If it's longer than that, I personally would start chasing. And the person you chase for this is the estate agents, because they're going to be the direct line of contact to the seller's solicitor. So if you don't have the contact details of your sellers, which some people don't, which is fine, but go through the estate agents to push the seller's solicitor, because you're going to want to get things kicked off and moving fairly quickly. It might be in the back burner of the seller's solicitor. They might have forgot about it. So sometimes a bit of a nudge really helps. Delays can happen in this area, obviously, if the solicitor has forgotten about them or if the sellers aren't being quick to submit this. So what we found in our personal experience was we got in contact with the sellers, we were chatting away to them, and they said, we've done the fixtures and fittings list, so you know everything that you're going to be getting from us. And we were like, oh, that's really cool. Do you mind if we take a look? So we had a look at it when we did our second viewing, and they said, we've sent this to our solicitor weeks ago. And we thought, what's going on then? Why has our solicitor not been given this? And why have we not seen this via our solicitor? We're seeing it direct from the sellers. It was really weird. But yeah, so they had given all the information to the seller's solicitor. It was the seller's solicitor who was being late and delayed it giving it to our solicitor. So from that point, I think we kind of thought this is going to be a bit of a long journey. And the seller's solicitor is probably not going to be as quick as our solicitor. And we're just going to have to take it on the chin, because it was actually the seller's solicitor that was recommended by the estate agents. Now, It's not going to be the same for everyone. And so I'm not going to generalize, but I have heard a lot of stories that solicitors that are recommended by the estate agents aren't great, and they're very slow, and they're just not amazing. Now, that's not meaning to say that all solicitors recommended by estate agents are rubbish, but the general consensus that I've found is that they are, from quite a lot of people on TikTok, and obviously from our personal experience as well. So when even as buyers, by the way, the estate agents will recommend the solicitors to you. I wouldn't do it personally. I would go out and outsource it yourself, whether that's a recommendation from family or friends or on Google that's got really good reviews, like that sort of thing. I wouldn't go with the one they recommend personally, because they're going to obviously get commission for that. And like I said, I've heard quite bad stories, but that's not meaning to say they're all like it. Everyone is different. So that's the contract pack. Next is ordering the searches. So this is going to be kind of the local council search, the water and drainage, and the environmental searches. So this does take quite some time. It will all depend on the council. It will depend on how quick they are to get documents back to your solicitor. But the environmental and the water and drainage searches should come back first. They're usually fairly quick. And your solicitor will basically be checking for things like planning issues or flood risks on the house that you're buying, things like that. And also if there's planning permissions for buildings being built near your home. So for example, in our like personal circumstances, there's a massive building site going on with houses being built, and we knew about this before moving in. So our solicitor found this out, and yeah, you kind of have to double check that you're okay with it before you go ahead with the property. But things aren't a huge red flag. You can get over certain stuff and ask your solicitor always for advice if you're unsure about anything. So the next stage will be reviewing and raising inquiries. So this stage can take quite some time, because what's going to happen is both solicitors are going to be bouncing backwards and forwards in terms of asking questions, getting them answered, maybe having follow-up questions, getting them answered. And it's only until they're completely 100% happy with the answers that they've been given, and you as the buyers as well, when all your searches will be completed. It can be quite a frustrating part of the process, because you literally can't do anything. It's the solicitors now that are going to do their job, going backwards and forwards. You just kind of have to chase if things are taking a long time. So if an inquiry, a fairly simple inquiry, is taking like 4 weeks to come back, then that's probably a reason to chase. And if that's the seller's solicitor, just call the estate agents and say, our solicitor's been waiting for this inquiry for 4 weeks. It's a fairly easy inquiry to get back. Can you ask what's going on? And you'll probably find that things get done the same day, like we found a lot of the time. So don't be afraid to chase. And if the delay is with your solicitor, just speak to them about it and say, the seller's solicitor's been waiting for this for X amount of time. Have you got any updates on it? And hopefully they'll get back to you fairly soon. They might have missed it. They might have not even seen that inquiry. There's a few times that I've heard of, and solicitors can miss things. They probably have so many emails I don't even want to imagine. And yeah, so try not to be too hard on them. They are normal people too, having normal lives, having normal jobs. They're probably super stressed because they probably have annoying first-time buyers and other buyers and sellers on their back constantly. It's not the kind of line of work I would like to ever get into. So I do take my hat off to every person that is within that industry, because it must be very, very stressful. So that is the inquiry stage. The next stage will be kind of reviewing the mortgage offer. They'll basically be ensuring that all the lender's requirements are being met. And yeah, just basically doing all the legal stuff in terms of flagging things. So for example, if the lender requires extra paperwork, the solicitor is required to flag that if that is the case. So they'll be doing that sort of thing to do with your mortgage. And for example, we thought we were paying our product fee onto our mortgage, whereas our solicitor, about 2 weeks before we were meant to complete, said to us, oh no, you have to pay that upfront to your mortgage lender. So they must have found in the small print within those legal documents that we had to pay that mortgage product fee earlier on and not on the mortgage. So that was something we were stung with, and that's something that they were able to pick up. So your solicitor does do quite a lot. They really are getting in the small print and the fine print and making sure everything to do with your mortgage is going to go smoothly and go through. So what your solicitor will create is a report on title. So this basically summarizes everything in plain English for you. And you basically see all the information to do with the house that you're buying in like documents. So it will be like your searches, your title deed, your everything you can imagine that you need to know about for your house purchase will be here. So that's something that you need to review. There'll be a lot of signing, there'll be a lot of reading, but like it needs to happen if you want to buy a house and get a mortgage on a house. So yeah, it's just part and parcel with buying a home, but it's a very important part of what your solicitor creates. It can take quite a while for them to get this to you. I think our solicitor got this to us maybe a week and a half after all our searches and all the inquiries have been confirmed, because, you know, it's a lot of documentation put into one thing. So it can take a while for it to come to you. Next, we have exchange of contracts. Now, as a buyer, this is like the best day ever. As a solicitor, they'll basically be confirming with you everything in terms of the price, the mortgage, the house, that sort of thing. And they will basically be arranging the deposit transfer. So another thing as well, if you give your deposit to your solicitor, let's say it's £20,000, and you don't end up exchanging, which is when the deposit money gets sent, you don't end up exchanging until 3 or 4 weeks later because there's been some delays. That £20,000 would have been sat in the solicitor's bank and would have been incurring interest. Now, that interest is yours. That is still your interest. That is still your money. That's not money that the solicitor is getting or anything like that. It's still your money. Now, we've been in our house right now for 7 months. And we've still not seen our interest from when our solicitor had our deposit in the bank. Now, this is because you only get that back when you get your full-on deeds and everything through the post. This apparently can take quite some time. Now, I've heard a few other people that I know that have gone through the process has had this come through 6 months later, 7 months later. So we're now on month 7 and we still haven't seen it, but we still should get it fairly soon. So when that comes through, that's when our solicitor said they'll send us the extra money that we made from the interest. So just before Christmas, we should get another couple £100, maybe £200-300 extra, which is always nice. We love a little bit of money, right? But just so you're aware, I don't know if it's different with different solicitors. I think they're all the same. And I think legally, like, that's your money, right? So yeah, that's all good. But yeah, it's your money and you will get that eventually. But just know that you won't see that for quite some time, which we didn't know about literally until a couple months ago. So yeah, in terms of the contract and exchanging of contracts, it means that both parties have signed the contracts and now you're legally binded to buying this property. Finally, it's completion. Now, I bet solicitors love this just as much as we do as buyers. During this process, this is when the solicitors will be requesting the mortgage funds from the lender. So they'll also be doing transfers of the purchase price to the seller's solicitor, basically just like sending all the money, so to speak, to the sellers. So yes, the mortgage money is being put on us as buyers, but that actual money is getting put to the sellers that are getting the money from the house, if that kind of makes sense. I feel like I've made that more complicated than it is, but I hope you know what I mean. And then last but not least, within the completion side of things, they basically confirm that you've got the keys and the keys are being handled and sorted. So on completion day, we got a call from the estate agents and our solicitors. It might be one, it might be the other, but we got a call from both. And yeah, it's just like the final touch on everything, just to make sure that you're going to get the keys. After that, you literally don't speak to solicitors again. They call you to like say your keys are ready for collection. That is it. It is the weirdest thing. It's like you collect your keys and it's all done. And it's like, yay. We all don't have to keep annoying each other now. But yeah, that is a general outline of the steps that solicitors do for you in this house buying process, which is a lot. You think back at that list. Solicitors do so much for us. And I think it's so easy for us to get frustrated with them, but they are doing their best and they are trying to help you get the keys to your first house. Of course, they want that for you. Them as individuals have probably gone through the same thing, right? So why would they not want to try and push and make you have the same lovely experiences of having your first home? It can be so frustrating and so annoying. Like, there's so much paperwork, there's so many legal words, there's so many documents to sign. Like, that is just so normal when you're making a huge purchase, like a house. You're getting a mortgage out, you're getting lent this money, and you're buying land. You are buying land potentially, unless it's like a leasehold. A freehold is you're buying land. A leasehold is, I think, is when you kind of buy flats and you all share a certain small, like that bit of land. I think. I don't really know the ins and outs of that, but it's a huge thing. And solicitors are there to help you with the legal side throughout the whole process. So cut them a bit of slack because they do a lot for us. And yeah, I think they do get chased the most. I mean, we did chase our solicitor quite a lot, but ours was really forthcoming and very easy to deal with and just nice and so friendly. So yeah, that was a nice experience to have because some people don't have nice experiences with their solicitors, and I honestly couldn't imagine anything worse. I think because you spend so much of your time talking to them and they are your kind of port of call when it comes to anything to do with this house buying process. So I couldn't imagine having that nice connection with them throughout. So hopefully you get along with your solicitor. I really hope so. So what to do if your solicitor is being a little bit slow? We didn't experience this personally, but if we did, this is what I would do. You want to have expectations with your solicitor as to how often maybe you want to communicate with them. So whether that's a weekly call for updates or a weekly email or that sort of thing, just so you're kind of both on the same page on how often, you're going to want to speak to them about your house buying process. If they are ignoring you or they haven't contacted you within 7 to 10 days of you calling or emailing, then reach out to their firm. If they're not an independent solicitor or conveyancer, reach out to their firm and kind of explain the situation and say, do you have any updates on my case? And do you know what's going on with my solicitor because they haven't contacted me in X amount of days? Usually someone else at the firm can help with the information. They might be on holiday. They might have an assistant that can fill you in. There might be loads of moving factors with that. So speak to the firm first and just see if there's something that's gone on that you just don't know about, because you don't know what goes on in people's lives. Like you don't know. So yeah, definitely speak to someone else about it and see if they've got information on your case. So the very, very last resort is you can switch solicitors. Now, this is quite a rare thing to do, but it's not impossible. So don't feel like you're stuck with your solicitor if you're really not getting along with them. It is possible to switch to another solicitor, but I'm not 100% sure on this, but there might be some like fees that you have to pay because they might have already done some work for you. So then you might actually still be legally having to pay them some money. I would have thought you would because then they'd be working for free. So I don't know how that works personally. So definitely research more into that because I don't know because I've not experienced it. But I do know that you can do that. You can switch firms. So don't feel like you're stuck. And definitely keep records of everything as well. So if that solicitor is up to date on a certain amount, that all of those records and documents can then be transferred to another firm and then kind of carry on and pick up where they left off. So don't feel like you need to start all the way from scratch again, but just be aware that you might still have to pay some money to that solicitor's firm. I'm pretty sure you would. It makes sense if you would. So that's something to just be aware of. The final takeaways from this episode, all about solicitors and conveyancers, is don't be scared when there's radio silence. There might just be things going on in the background. And if you're unsure, just ask the question. Don't be afraid to chase early. I wish we'd done that sooner. We would have saved weeks of delays in our process. So don't be afraid to chase early. Another thing is just to generally expect delays when it comes to anything to do with legal stuff and buying a house, selling a house, anything like that. Just expect delays. You are not the only client that solicitors have. They're going to be busy. They're going to have multiple people that they're looking into. Just try and be patient. Try and have expectations of things taking a bit longer than you would expect and just kind of hope for the best. Always be proactive. You want to send forms or things like IDs, signing things. Just be as proactive as you can be, and then you're kind of ticking that off the list. As long as you're being like super, super quick. Hopefully your solicitor will follow in your footsteps and be like, oh, okay, this person's quite eager. I better kind of chop and move things swiftly along too. Yeah. The only thing is, your solicitor might be really, really great and really, really quick, but if the seller solicitor is very slow, like in our personal experience, it's going to slow down the whole process. So even though your solicitor might be absolutely incredible, other moving parts like the seller solicitor or a solicitor up the chain, if there's more people in the chain, that might slow things down too. So just expect delays. It's really annoying having to even say that, but yeah, just unfortunately expect delays. And ultimately, your solicitor is your ally here. They want you to get the keys to your house. Why wouldn't they? It would be weird if they didn't. So just be polite, be kind, chase when you can, but don't be annoying. If things are taking weeks and weeks, yes, chase, see what's going on, but try and have weekly updates with your solicitor and have a chat with them, and just don't call them every single day and be annoying because, yeah, we don't want to do that. We don't want to annoy our solicitor. We want to work with them, not against them. So I really hope that episode was useful in some way. I think it's so interesting to see how much a solicitor actually does. Like, they put so much time, energy, and effort into us as buyers and first time buyers. And they really help us. They help us get the keys to our first home. So really, we need to be thanking our solicitors. I think last Christmas we sent a Christmas card to our solicitor because he was doing an amazing job, and it was just like as a thank you. So you got to kind of treat them with respect and kindness and not be rude and not be annoying, and just try to work with them as much as you can because, like I said, they want you to get the keys as much as you want the keys. So yeah, I really hope something in there was kind of useful. If you really like this kind of style of episodes, because I've done a few more explanation type of videos and podcasts, let me know if these are working and if these are more interesting, because I can talk about energy and protecting your home and spiritually things about the home so much. But when it comes to explaining things, I find it really useful. And I feel like when I was going through the process, I would have loved to have understood things in more detail, kind of what I'm explaining now. So yeah, if these styles of videos are more interesting, please do let me know. Give it a comment, give us a like. It would mean the world to me. And it would just help me know that I'm helping at least one person throughout this process. So yeah, I really hope you liked that episode, and I hope to see you next time.